time to strap in and get ready.
The leaders in NRL Supercoach are incoming. Bringing you the ultimate insight to help you win your leagues and climb up the rankings.
You're now listening to the Insight NRL Show with your hosts, Braino Mattrix and Whisperer.
Yes, round 19, it's here, finally. The final major bye. Everybody's been waiting for this for a long time, and it is here. And, of course, we are live on the Insight NRL Show. The show's brought to you by The Standard Squeeze and Ryan from Astute Newstead. I am the Supercoach Brain, and the Supercoach Mattrix is here with me, as always, to talk trades, captains, and tons more leading into this final round. Mate, how are you going? How's your Tuesday?
Mate, so got home and we're both dads. That's sort of how this whole thing started. We were sitting around. So I was talking to my 2.5-year-old son and his name's Theodore. And I was like, mate, how was your day? What's been going on? Anyway, he keeps talking about this kid and his name's Theodore. And there's another kid at daycare called Theodore as well. So keeps calling him Little Theo. And I'm just super proud to have a 2.5-year-old champing other 2-year-olds out there. I just feel like I've succeeded as a parent right now. Because, like, if you're champing at 2 years old, you're going to be an absolute menace when you're older.
That's, some elite kind of chat early on. Like, at that age, he takes after his dad, that's for sure, for one.
He's not real big either. Like, for him to be Little Theo, I reckon the kid's probably 2 inches taller than him.
That is even better. It's kind of better when they're obviously noticeably bigger and you're still calling them Little Theo. Well played. Good on you, Theo. Love that. My little guy, we're trying to we're trying to wean him off the bottle, and we've also bought him a new bed. So he's kind of like in transition phase at the moment. So I'm just copping 2 hours of screaming pretty much nearly every evening trying to get him to sleep. So that's been fun. I really hope that I can get through that nice and quick. How good is it having kids? The gift.
And I hope our wives aren't listening to this, but this is the perfect excuse to just spend 2 hours to just fuck off into the back room. I was like, got to do the podcast. It's fucking scheduled in. We got all these people. If all these people left, we would have to parent a little more. And thanks to everyone out there.
Thanks for watching and giving us a reason to come and have a chat about footy for 2 hours. Oh, sorry, I've got to do the notes. We haven't done the notes yet. And I just piss off a little early.
Got to start at 6:12.
Yeah,
it's on at 8.
So the kids, the gift that keeps on giving. There are plenty of good things. We take the piss a bit, but we're here to talk Supercoach, of course.
Love that little champ.
We probably should. Yeah, we probably should talk about Supercoach. But drop your questions in, guys, into the chat. We'll answer all the good ones and do our best to get to as many as we can by the end of the show. And, of course, if you haven't yet, please hit subscribe. Please hit like. We would appreciate that. It helps us get the show out to more people and keep doing our thing. And, of course, if you're listening to us on audio, hit the follow button, leave us a review. And for those of you watching on X at the moment, we would really appreciate it if you come across to YouTube. It does help us, I guess, financially, being straight up. It makes it a little bit easier and more viable for us to improve the show every single week and put some more resources into it. So we would love that. But how'd you go last week, mate? Finished up with a pretty decent score. Did you crack 1,400? No, just short.
Oh, actually, I didn't update that. Yeah, I got 1421 after updates. This just dragged it up from last week. Was pretty happy. Had some handy updates, even if it didn't come from Teddy, I don't think. Moved up 1,100 spots into 5,865. I'd been saving some trades, but yeah, probably they all got burnt in the fact that last week I brought in Kohler and young Nicholas Hines, as everybody in the chat is telling me that I have killed Nicholas. But look, realistically, I'd had a good week. I'd planned. I probably thought I was going to have 14 players. I now have 12. I've got to make a couple little trades this week to get that. But I think I'm at the point that I'm not going to make the trade unless it's better for me in the long term. I'd rather play with 12 good players this week than trading for the sake of trading.
Yeah, it's a tough week, I think, this week. Well, this could be the week, really. First of all, it's a massive moving week if you're well prepped and you have good numbers because, for the most part, I think people are going to be scrambling to get to 13 this week. So the question becomes, do we play short? Like having a look at the amount of available halfbacks, if you have the duel of Dylan Brown or Cody Walker or whatever, you've got a bit more flexibility. But I'll tell you what, Nicho Hynes out has definitely thrown a spanner in the works, hasn't it? Because it was a number that we all needed and probably went early on to try and get that extra number, knowing that he was probably the best captain option this week too against the Tigers. So it is tricky. And of course, we look at the rest of the teams and, we look at who's available this week and fuck, it's grim. Like not really many guys that you would look at and go, I would love you in my best 17 on the run home. And that's what makes it so hard this week.
How'd your team go? Like
13, I didn't update my score. 1350. We both didn't update our score. That's good from us.
Yeah.
1350, 2764 rank. So I went down about 200. To be fair, I never expected to score 1350 and go backwards in rank. But again, that probably is maybe a positive in a way that maybe I'm ranked high enough to go backwards at that score. So that's fine. But I'm kind of glad to hold because there were some sit starts that I got wrong last week. Like I sat Curran. I also sat Terrell May. And they both outscored Samuel Afinu, so I'm probably about 40 points short there. I also then played Ronaldo Mulatalo over Kaeliro, so there's another 25 points that I'm short. So I probably could have been pushing 1,400 and maybe green arrows if I got those two sit starts right. But look, at the end of the day, you're not going to get them all right, are you? So one of those weeks.
And I think you took, I suppose Terrell May is chasing upside, but playing Ronaldo Mulatalo instead of Kaeliro, I would say 9 times out of 10, you would get that right. So
I thought with the matchup,
I would have done that.
Yeah, with the matchup, it looked good. We had a bit of a whinge about Braden Trindle on Sunday about how he's hurting Nicho and hurting Ronaldo. Maybe things have changed with Nicho out of the team. Who knows? That'll be a conversation to have, I think, a little bit later. But we should get into the injury chat because there is a lot of injuries this week that are pretty relevant. Let's get the most obvious one out of the way, Matty. Nicho Hynes, 6 to 8 weeks with the syndesmosis. That's Mitchell Moses' brother, syndesmosis. He's back again. And it's unfortunate, but that could honestly nearly be season over for Nicho, depending on how the Sharks finish the season.
Look, I'm not giving him his nickname at the moment. He's Nicholas to me. And honestly, man, just disappointed. I'd held off and I was doing well and I was watching him dropping cash and I'm just sitting there and 10 minutes before the game I add him because I'm like, I don't care if he drops 40K playing these guys. I really think that he could score well against the Titans. Didn't score well and then to do this at training. Really disappointing because I like Nicholas. He seems like a really good bloke. I want to see him do well. Been great for Supercoach for years. You know what? If we don't see him play again, he's going to be the number 1 added bloke in 2025 because this is great areas. But disappointing that I'm burning 2 trades when I had 12 left.
Yeah, that's the hard part, isn't it? Like if Nicho goes down, the 2 kicks in the dick for me are the fact that we could have sold him at a mil and there's a couple of people that did, which is elite super coaching because it's worked out beautifully and given you a real big heads up. But the cash loss for me, 693K. We've lost potentially 300K on Nicho. And the risk to hold him was fine because it far outweighed the risk of trading him. I think you'd be shitting your pants watching Nicho play every single week, regardless of his form. And Brent in the chat is one of those ones that sold him at $1 million. So very well played.
To be honest, I was one of those guys.
You got him back though. You caved.
Yeah. I bought him back at 750 to lose an extra 60. So money-wise, it's not a fucking huge deal. It's the fact that I've burnt so many trades early on with injuries and setting my teams up that I had 12 left and I've spent 2 of my last 12 on Nicholas.
Yeah, that hurts. I'm going to need to spend one soon enough. I've got 11 trades before this week. I'm probably looking at only doing maybe 1, if not, I'll probably do 2 to be honest, because you maybe talked me into one at the end before the show started. But that'll leave me with 9, and then I'll probably have maybe 3 upgrades to do, and then I'll have 6 trades for the run home, which is a bit skint, and I'm not exactly happy with it. But yeah, there's a lot to consider with the Nicho Hynes replacement that we'll talk about very soon. But yeah, 6 to 8 weeks for him. If you want to get the Sharks to miss the top 4 at $2.10 on Sportsbet, that's a free double up for me. So quickly grab on before Sportsbet catch on. I was going to say Mitchell Moses because I saw Cindus Moses on the notes. Latrell Mitchell is the next guy on the list with the Liz Frank injury, which is exactly the same injury as Mitchell Moses just came back from. He's looking at 4 weeks and another scan in about a fortnight to see how things are tracking because they're trying to go the conservative route, which is interesting. What are you doing with Latrell? If you're someone that has Latrell this week, are you holding him and just waiting for that second scan?
It's exactly the same as Joseph Manu out there. Like, if you have the same mentality that I'm trading Joey Manu, only having him for 4 games, then fine. But I suppose it's what you do with the extra money, which makes me think I'm more likely to trade Latrell than Joey Manu because you have 7 centre wings and you only have 2 fullbacks. Am I trading Latrell this week? Probably not. I'm probably going to see how the other fullbacks shake out. We're going to chat about it a bit later on, but I don't think Tom Turbo's a bring in. But yeah, somebody like a Reece Walsh at a discount or something like that would be worth it, but you don't need to do it this week with Latrell. And I don't actually really like the fullback options that are on offer this week. So
there's a couple, but probably not players that you'd want at fullback. So yeah, we'll talk about them. But Junior Bolo, he's out for the season as well with a Liz Frank injury, similar injury there. Jock Madden's done a hammy as well, which sees Josh Rogers come into the Broncos lineup to get a gig there. How do we know?
No, sees him come into the top 30 actually.
Good on him. Little contract extension or contract upgrade for Josh Rogers. Yeah. But how long's Madden out for? Is it 4 to 6 weeks?
Yeah, it's 4 to 6 weeks. I would like to think that Renault's back by then. So, yeah, definitely not a super coach option. But, yeah, congratulations to Josh Rogers out there. I believe Black's injured as well. Okay. Because I think he's in the top 30, whereas Rogers wasn't, despite playing that one game for the Broncos. But, yeah, we're getting a bit thin at halfback.
Well, yeah, you need Reynolds back, which I think he's due back around 23, 24, something like that. So,
I just haven't heard any news. That's the problem. Like, they said round 23. Renault's older than me. Yeah, that's great. Like, if you check the website, it says 22, but it's not like, Kevy saying, like, it's okay. We've got Renault coming back in 3 weeks in all the interviews that I tend to watch. So,
yeah, that's it. And again, not overly super coach relevant. It may even affect Reece Walsh potentially if he loses goal kicking or if he doesn't get as many kicks in play. So, yeah, keep an eye out on that. But, Jock Madden, he'll spend some time on the sideline, as will Dane Laurie with a hamstring injury. I'd love the hamstring injury count. I want to try and work that out. I'm sure Physio's done it, but there has been a lot. We'd be here all night trying to count them. Tohu Harris with the wrist injury. Obviously, with the Wars, they're on the bye, so they're just managing that at the moment for him. No news about when he'll be back, but I think it's only short term. So hopefully he gets the rest this week and he'll be back in round 20.
He was named and pulled out, right?
Yes, he was. He was
last
named.
minute. Yep.
It was 24 hours out. He dropped out. Yep. So Chance Nickel-Klokstad, though, with a calf injury, obviously he limped off last week. Look, if you've got him, unfortunately, I think he is a sell. Just purely because there is no word on when he will be back, and calves are also really kind of tricky to manage and tricky to get a gauge on because they're so niggly and very easy to reoccur.
Yeah. Sorry, C&K owners, you just got Nicholas.
Yeah. for audio viewers, for audio listeners, you missed a dab. So come and check it out on YouTube. Marcelo Montoya, he's done a groin for the Warriors, but he gets an extra week. So we'll find out more because obviously the Warriors are pretty tight-lipped about their injuries being on the bye. So we'll find out more next week. Jamin Salmon, he will be out for up to 6 weeks with a broken jaw. He was going to be suspended anyway. But, the weak-gutted dog, he's going to spend some time on the sideline. Who does this benefit? Because they're on the bye as well. Do we see maybe Josh Curran sliding to an edge? Because I kind of don't like that. I would rather him play off the bench in the middle and play his 45 to 50 minutes because the PPM's way better there.
I mean, I think maybe with Josh Curran, you might see him play his 40 minutes in the middle and then slide to an edge as well with how many guys they've got. Like, it could still benefit him. He might just pick up some extra minutes to pick up the slack at edge. I don't think they're going to move him from the middle. I know he's a bit of a Mr. Fix-It, but
I reckon they do because they got Kurt Mann, they've got fucking Bailey Hayward as well that they just obsessed with playing at lock. Both of those guys are rotating through the 13 at the moment. Yeah, which makes no sense. I'm not a fan of it. And then we've got Preston due back, but he's gone and re-injured himself. And
yeah, he had himself training.
Yeah, for an extended period, coming back from that ankle injury, he's gone and re-injured that ankle again at training. So there's no word or timeline on when he'll be back, Wayne, which is where the question came from in the chat. So, yeah, Josh Curran probably either slides to an edge and the PPM maybe drops, but the minutes increase. So maybe there won't be too much of an effect. One that's really irking me, and I've made it pretty obvious, Harry Grant, I'm not a fan of him anymore. He's done me dirty this year. And the sternum injury, I mean, they're playing Ducks and Drakes, aren't they, for Origin, that he might not be ready to go by putting Reid Marnie in the squad? Surely he's good to go.
I mean, maybe not. I mean, I don't think Billy's like really that sort of Ducks and Drakes sort of bloke. Like, yeah, I don't know. We're Queenslanders, mate.
Yeah, of course you are. Yeah. It's going to get old pretty quickly when you fucking lose next week.
I mean, Fafita might have helped. So
yeah, it might have. Or Billy's a genius, and you're all going to be laughing at us next week after we.
We have a mobile pack. Can I say?
Yeah, you do definitely. I just don't think you've picked your best team. But again, doesn't really matter because there was a year that we called it the worst Queensland team ever and you beat us in a series. So you can't really look at that too much. But yeah, Harry Grant, what are you doing with him? We're not going to talk about him for the rest of the show because the Storm are on the bye.
He's still a fucking hold. I don't care. He's still Harry Grant. He'll still probably outscore. Like, who are you bringing in Harry Grant for? Name anyone. And he's still outscoring him. And you're going to be probably disappointed with Harry Grant's score, but he's still going to outscore the next best bloke.
Reckon because a lot of people will do Grant to Coruscant this week. I think I can see that being pretty popular.
Because Coruscant's got a 30 in him. When Harry Grant plays, he doesn't. So.
You sure? He's got 3 40s this year.
Yeah, that's not 30.
Yeah, I know, but it's fucking shit. So I'm a bit burnt,
he does outscore Appy. I've got Appy, and I'm not that happy with Abby, to be honest.
Okay, good. Yeah, fair call. I mean, I'm probably going to hold Harry because I didn't plan a trade there. And I just feel like I'll just lean on Brendan Hands for 2 weeks. And if Harry doesn't back up in round 20, which I'm kind of planning he doesn't, I'll still have him for 21 to 27. And also, funnily enough, Harry Grant's like sub 30% owned by the top % of teams. So he's
because if you got Harry, if you paid like stupid money for Harry Grant, you're not in the top % at the moment. So it's crazy that you're getting a pod. I'm considering Harry Grant as a buy more so than a sell.
For the run home, once we see that injury's okay, I reckon people could load up for the final rounds for sure. On the Melbourne Storm, Nelson Asofa Solomona with a hammy. He is out, which again probably hurts Harry Grant more than anything. We always talk about the impact of that fast play the ball from Nass up the middle, so they'll miss him a little bit. Bronson Garlick also, he's done his back, so it looks like Harry Grant's cover is also injured. So how is the Storm going to play that?
I'm glad you did the notes and didn't ask me to read that because I read that as Bronson Garlick's back, but Bronson Garlick's hurt his back. So,
this is the injury segment, so.
Yeah, I just thought he was back, but
good.
I don't know who comes in at hooker there, but
who knows?
That's the next week's problem. It's not yet.
Spot on. Probably Wishart at hooker. Saab, he had a leg issue at the end of last game, but he's okay. He's been named this week anyway, so we'll keep an eye out there for final teams. Raymond Fatala Mariner has back spasms, but he seems all right. Hudson Young, he had a groin issue as well. Obviously, they're on the bye this week, so he was a late admission last week, so we'll see what happens next week. Again, not overly Supercoach relevant. Adam Elliott, he missed some time last week. He was a late admission last week as well, and I must say I didn't check whether has he been named for the Knights? I'll quickly check.
I'll have a look. Give me a second.
Look, it's not really going to affect.
He's been named.
There you go. So it's not going to be overly affecting anybody like a Kai Pearce-Paul or whoever that be. But we will be looking at a couple of Knights options this week if you do need some cover. So we'll chat about them soon. And Justin Olam is out with that knee injury that seems to be hampering him over the last month. So we see Far Tape somehow hold a spot for the Tigers. And there's a few moving parts for the West Tigers that they need to sort out there, but Olam doesn't help that. So, Nico Hines, Latrell Mitchell, they're the big talking points here for this week. And
Tolu Kola.
Kola. Yeah, he obviously is out with that MCL. He's got to have surgery, so he'll be out for 4 weeks. And I'd say it's fair to say that Turbo now will just be at fullback and Kola will come back into the centres, you reckon?
Yeah, I suppose what you're alluding to is the fact that Kola's a sell. And I brought him in last week, so naturally he's a sell.
Yeah, sucks. Speaking of sells and buys and everything else, let's move into the weekly preview. And as always, the weekly preview is brought to you by Ryan from Astute Newstead. For those of you who are looking to get a handle on your finances, maybe you want to get into the housing market, you want to buy your first home, maybe you want to even refinance or renovate your current home, or maybe you just want to save some cash. You want to get that interest rate back down. So if you're sitting in that 6.2% mark, you can definitely do better. And you can reach out to Ryan from Astute Newstead. Won't cost you a thing, no obligation to follow through on it. Just have a chat with him about your circumstances and get an understanding of where he can help you, where you can save some cash. His link tree is in the description below. Go and click on that. Let him know that we sent you and he'll look after you and make sure that you can save some coin or get into that dream home of yours. Now, of course, every single week when we move into the weekly preview, we do the buy, hold and sell, and we'll kick things off with the trade targets for round 19.
Targets acquired.
And the first target, and maybe an obvious one because he is the most purchased player this week in round 19, is Hamoli Olakau'atu, 604K, 8 break even. It kind of feels like we're at a point now where the stars have aligned in getting Hamoli into our team. A lot of us were waiting until next week. We're probably waiting until potentially even round 20. Due to the fact that he's now not been named for New South Wales and he's dropped out there, he does become available. Obviously, no DCE maybe hurts his output a little bit, Matty, but I think Hamoli can get his own done if he gets the ball with enough space. So buy the week, buy a country mile, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Like you said it well in a little chat when I was like, oh, is he even a buy with Daly out? But Brooks will probably roam a little bit, and he does really like to hit that second rower on the short ball. That's basically the only play in his playbook. So, yeah, getting the ball to Molly makes sense when he's out. He scored all right in another game where Daly Cherry Evans missed. I think I was looking at it with Aman. So, look, yeah, I wouldn't be scared to get him. It's not like a Britton Nickera and Nico Hines situation. And maybe if you were contemplating a trade and really needed some money, I think when you have a look at the draw, Hamoli is a no-brainer. I don't know if I can do it, but Hamoli's a no-brainer.
All comes down to really like who your two RFs are at the moment and who you're willing to move on from. Like Kai Pearce-Paul obviously playing this week. Otherwise, I think he'd be the obvious one to make way. But I think people are probably just trying to hold on to that number for this week and then move Kai Pearce-Paul on next week, which, yeah, I'm honestly very tempted to just go early and just say, fuck the numbers and get my best team in now. And I think we're presented with an opportunity to get a top tier 2RF, probably a top 4 2RF in the competition at an 8 break even. It's like this week or kind of never, because a lot of us have to get Gus back too if that's
and what's that? What's Hamoli's break even? It's pretty
8.
low as well. Yeah.
It's got to
maybe I just go Kai Pearce-Paul to Hamoli and have Fafita, Hamoli, Nickera, and Angus Crichton.
Well, my thinking potentially is I've got Nickera, I've got Fafita, I've got Katoa, and I've got Kai Pearce-Paul, Curran, and Jed Cartwright in my 2RF. So if I went this week and did Kai Pearce-Paul to Olakau'atu, I would then next week, it might be a bit spicy maybe, but I think with Nico out, it's going to hurt Nickera. So I think maybe even next week we go Nickera out to Gus Crichton potentially. That could be a move with Nickera on the bye as well. We've got to obviously see a little bit this week with Nico out and see how that looks. But yeah, I'm a little bit off Nickera now, to be honest. So that might be a decision we make in the near future. But Hamoli, pretty solid.
Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with getting Hamoli in this week. He's the most purchased player for a reason, because it just makes sense. Top 4, top 5. Honestly, he's probably 4A 4B with Nikora for me. When you go have a look at second row forwards, there's a reason Nicker is 100k more than Hamoli at the moment, because he's been scoring well in the last little period. So
spot on. Yeah. What are your thoughts on the next one, mate? Jaden Campbell. Now, 622k, it's definitely not the price that we would have looked at and gone, oh, I'd love to get Jaden Campbell. I feel like that's unders. I feel like we're probably paying value on at about a 60 average, 59 average, but he's got a negative 44 break even this week. So it's kind of seems like people are jumping on now because you can't jump on next week. It doesn't make sense. He's a number for you this week. Latrell's out. Nico's out. If you've got the jewels, he slots into fullback or 5'8" as well. So I assume that's probably the move that a lot of people are making. What are your thoughts on Campbell?
I like it, and I think a lot of people are probably going Nicho Hines to Jaden Campbell. When you think about a Nicho Hines to Jaden Campbell trade, you expect to make more than 75k. Unfortunately, that's not the case at the moment. I think that he's a buy if you have faith in Jaden Campbell, if you think that he's going to be a guy that you can play through to the rest of the year. Because if I'm spending 600k for a guy, it's not for a cash grab. It's not for, to sell for 800k in a little while. Are you really bringing in Jaden Campbell just to trade him out for Cleary? I think I'd just hold Nico if that's your plan. But if you think Jaden Campbell, and I love Jaden Campbell, he was one of the first added and then he was injured at the start of the year. If you think that he's somebody you can hold for the rest of the year, then bring him in. It's not the play for me. I'm going to wait on somebody a bit more tried and tested in my halves.
I think if you're looking for a replacement player for Nico this week as a number or Latrell as a number, probably the best pick. But if you, and what we would recommend people do, we'll talk about it soon, but Nico can wait a week, I think, because there's so many better options next week after Origin's done. And I think that's maybe the theme of tonight. If you don't have to make the trade this week and you can still get the numbers, fucking just hold off, because it becomes so tough. If you're trying to fill numbers this week, you're essentially using really critical trades when most of us don't have double-figure trades left. We've got 10 or less. You're using one of those trades to get a number in a shit round in round 19. And then you've got to probably potentially even trade two of these guys out back to keepers for the run home once Origin's done. So just let the Origin players come back and then pick the cream of the crop for the run home and make sure that your team's set there. That's probably my option. Sorry, I nearly cut you off.
No. I wasn't saying anything else. I was like, yeah, I completely agree. I'm valuing trades more than money at this point of the year. And if I'm paying 600k for a halfback, 5/8, I'm presuming a lot of people are using those handy jewels that have come this year. It's not for fucking Jaden Campbell.
Yeah, I think the BE is enticing people, to be honest. It's a minus 44 BE. It's like, oh, he could be 750 next week if he gets a score this week, which he very much could. It's a good matchup for him. But
if I've got 14 trades, I'm doing it.
Correct. Yeah. But for the most part, I've got 11. It'll be 9 after this week, and I just don't have enough to be fucking around too much with that. My plan will be Nico to Cleary, I'd say, when the time comes. I'm happy to hold Nico until that time comes to make sure that I get one of the best halfbacks for the run home. But this next guy, mate, bottomed out still, probably still a buy, and we called it last week that he could still be one of the most purchased this week in Greg Marju. He was most purchased by a country mile last week, 500k. He made 80k last week at minus 12 break even. And he is in the top 5 most bought players again this week for good reason. How do you feel about him? Do you still think he's a buy this week?
Oh, yeah, I do think he's a buy now that Ponga's back. It's disappointing for this week. I think I would be buying Gregory Marju if Ponga was just playing club footy this week. But we've seen him take these spikes when Kalen's back. They have this really good connection. Kalen heads that way a little bit more. So, yeah, I'm probably expecting another 40 or 50 this week, but don't be deterred if you're buying him. It's a long-term play that you're probably going to play on matchup. I am not going the Gregory Marju route, but I understand it because as somebody that's got a lot of stocks on him in draft, I had good reason for that. It was because he's beside Kalen Ponga. It's not, don't bring him in for this week. Bring him in for the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's right. And most of these trades are either nuff trades or end of year hold and enjoy yourself. We can't be doing linked trades at the moment. You just don't have enough.
But these are all guys that are playing this week. We've definitely focused in the buy list because otherwise you just buy him next week.
Yeah, correct. Exactly. There's no point going early on those keeper guns if you can wait a week. So
Nico got hurt at training.
Exactly. That's the risk of going early on a player like a Brian To'o or whatever. Like it's at the price as well. Like fucking probably one of the guys you're going to want for the run home, and he is still in pod territory, Brian To'o, but a guy you definitely wait, especially just wait for them to get through Origin unscathed as well. Like we know what Origin's like. It's such an up-tempo, up-paced game with, a high rate of injury. So definitely, reassess next week. Tom Trebojevic is an interesting conversation, and I don't think we want to say he's a buy, but he's definitely being purchased this week now that he's back at fullback and Kohler is out. Tell me your thoughts on Turbo. I'm not overly sold. Just looking at the eye test last week, he just looked a little bit slow, which is expected. Definitely no, I'm not trying to be critical of him, but I need to see a little bit more from Turbo first before I buy in.
So if you're bringing him in, I won't try and talk you out of it. One, because he's the fullback at Manly, who have an absolutely tremendous draw, as we spoke about with Hamoli. Maybe bring up the draw a little bit, because I bought Tolu Kola thinking that he might hold the spot at fullback for the sole reason that he might hold the spot at fullback just to play. Yes, Sydney's not a great thing, but he might have been playing Canberra, might have been playing New Zealand, and then swap back. But when you have a look at the Tigers into the Sharks, which aren't the team that we thought they'd be, yeah, I think that Turbo has a great run. I think that he's a guy that you can play there. If he was at center, would you play him? Would you buy him at 700K?
No.
I don't know. I won't talk you out of it because Turbo has that upside. But yeah, the eye test wasn't really there for me. But I bought Kohler because he was a fullback with the same draw. If you're back in pedigree, if you need a number for this week, if you need a pod for this week, yeah, Turbo's probably the best player playing this week. Yeah. Outside of maybe David Fafita.
Yeah, fair call. Bit of risk involved, but yeah, the upside's there. So if you're an upside player and you want to take a punt on a guy that has scored well in the past, go for it. There is some risk there with the injury history and just the fact that he's been out for a while. So that's my take on it. But there are two guys on this list here that are presenting as the ultimate nuffs. And when we say nuffs, for anybody who hasn't really heard us talk about that term too much, it kind of stands for nothing player. So like a guy that's going to kind of come in, they're not going to be an AE nightmare, which is basically they're not going to ruin your VC loophole by scoring you 12 every week by coming off the bench for 7 minutes. When they score, they'll probably score well. And they're also playing a major bye this week in Jake Tungo and Lorenzo Mulatalo. Imagine talking about Tungo and Mulatalo at 204K. You'd be silly not to consider them with the pedigree of their brothers.
I tell you what, if this was NBA fantasy, I would be trying to trade Mulatalo and Targo because I have done that so many times, just trying to trick people by trying to trade Seth Curry and the other people's thinking that I'm trading Steph Curry, because that actually pops up with S Curry as well. I reckon I do it absolutely every year.
Right. And M Bridges would get a bit of mix up as well when Miles was out last year and Mikhail was torching for the Suns. Surely that would have been a bit of a play as well.
Unpopular opinion, I think Miles Bridges is better than Mikhail Bridges, but I will just leave that sitting right there. But Jake Tungo, he has come from the absolute the stars were aligned for Jake.
Yeah.
He was great last week, and he nearly scored a try. Probably would have had, 55? If he gets that line break, gets that try, was disallowed, looked really good for his 33. I know that that's probably deterring people if you didn't actually watch the game, but he's on Sivo's side. He's a guy that I'm okay with playing this week. He's just as likely to score 70 as anyone this week.
Yeah. I'm liking Jake Tungo, to be honest. I think he is the play. If you're looking to free up some cash at centre wing, we've all got some players we want to get back in our teams that are very highly priced at the moment. So if you need to free up some cash, Jake Tungo could be the play. If you're looking for someone also playable as a little bit of a backup too, that's not going to hurt you, Jake Tungo is the play. Lorenzo Mulatalo, though, if you're looking for someone just to come in and out for 1 week and you want them to disappear off the face of the earth, then maybe that's the play if you don't need the extra points potentially. So,
but I think there's no harm in having Jake there. Like, I don't think he's going to be an AE nightmare. I think 33 is, or whatever he scored last week, 36 is his floor. So,
Yep.
That's the only reason I would go Lorenzo, is if you're really scared that Jake is going to be an AE nightmare, which I'm not.
No, neither. I think the base is good enough, and he plays a lot like Isaac, tough, nuggety kind of kid. I'm a fan. So we'll talk about our thoughts on our trades a little bit later, maybe one of those features. But there are some players that are being traded this week that we probably think could be held. So we'll talk about them. People are moving off these guys, right? First one's Joey Manu. If you were going to get rid of Joey Manu, wouldn't you have done it last week? Like, I just feel like the closer we get to his return, because it's a 4-week layoff. I mean, sorry, it's not a 4-week layoff. He's out for 3 weeks. He's back on the 4th week. So we see Joey Manu back in round 21 for the Roosters at sub 30% ownership because everyone's bailing on him. I think if you've got him now and you can hold on, I'd definitely be holding Joey Manu at 624K this week.
After Val scored as many points as he scored last week, I'm actually really disappointed that I didn't hold Joey Manu and I didn't trade Val.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the play, wasn't it? It's, for me, I just think the closer we get to him coming back, the more of a hold he is. And also we're talking pod territory from one of the top 5 centre wings in the comp, really, based on pedigree. And with the Roosters draw, it's very appealing, and we've talked about it a number of times on the pod. So having Joey Manu as a pod with the Roosters having the best draw for the run home is just way too tempting. I'd be holding if I didn't sell last week.
And I've spent that money, but I won't be able to get him back.
Nah, not with the amount of trades we have. I mean, you've got one more than me, but then now you've burnt that one on Nico. So I feel like we're kind of maybe back on track trades-wise. I'm going to have 9 this week if I make 2.
Yeah, I'm in exactly the same boat, but I'm actually looking at making 3 setting up for the future. So
okay. Yeah, nice. I mean, it's a good week to do it if you can, but Sam Walker, mate, people are moving off him too, which is weird. 712K. I know the Roosters have the bye, but again, we talked about it as well. Why are people selling Sam Walker in a week where Nico got injured? What are we moving? Okay. What are we moving to? Are we going to Cody Walker or something? Dylan Brown, maybe?
I just want to talk to anybody that's trading Sam Walker out, and you're standing there at the end of the bridge and there's traffic down below. Just don't do it. There's absolutely no reason. You're better than this. You are so much better than this. He's missing 1 week. Yes, he has a bye in a couple weeks, but Sam Walker's been great. You've got so much you need to be out here for. Sam Walker is... Honestly, Sam Walker's one of the absolute best for the run home when you have a look at that draw. And we're talking about, holding Manu and he's missing the next 3 weeks. Sam Walker's playing next week. It's a 1 week thing. You've got him to 700K and there's no other good halfback options. You need Sam Walker.
Especially more so, it gives you also the cash next week. If you hold him this week, right? And then next week we come into Cleary coming back. You've got 712K worth of cash to move to Cleary if you really wanted to. Is the play this? I'm assuming the play this week for people to go Sam Walker to Jaden Campbell. I reckon that's what it is via Jules.
That's gross. That's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, I wouldn't be doing that. That's not a trade I'd be making. And I just think Sam Walker's been good enough now to be reliable for a run home halfback, regardless. For those of you that aren't convinced on Cleary, for those of you that don't like DCE, now we've lost Nico. We're losing premium halfbacks very, very quickly. If you don't have Jerome Hughes, I'd probably prioritize him. He's been fantastic. But for the most part, if you've got a Hughes and Walker combo, which seems to be pretty popular, just hold on, enjoy it, because they're probably going to be 2 of the best scorers.
If you don't have a mirror, look in it and have a good hard look at yourself, because trading out Sam Walker, I mean, have a look at all these other options that you're speaking about. Sam Walker, Jerome Hughes has been the best. Sam Walker probably has the easiest run home out of all these blokes. You need... if you've got him, there's no reason. It's an absolute waste of a trade.
Agreed. Harry Grant's on the hold list purely because he's a pod. I think that's probably, if you're chasing rank at the back end of the season, I think it makes sense to hold on to Harry Grant, because when you can get... I mean, he's had a down season on what we're comparing him to, and he's still averaging in the 60s. So, like, it's not like he's been horrific. We just bought him at premium price, expecting those hundreds that he scored last year, and he hasn't done that. But that doesn't mean he's been horrendous. And he still probably will be one of the hookers of the run home that you want in your team. So if you can hold him and have another pod, and this is kind of the same conversation as a Joey Manu chat. You know, we're talking about these premium guys that were 80% owned in the top 1% last year that are now going to be 30% owned or less for the run home this year. That's a guy that you want in your team. So I'd say for anybody moving Harry Grant to Appy, I'd be reversing that trade and trying to find numbers elsewhere.
And you're selling him for cents at the dollar. Like, yes, Appy has been, scoring these 90s on occasion, but the West Tigers are still bad. Like, at least the Storm have had this go forward. The worst thing about this Harry Grant injury and stuff is maybe if he played for a worse team that was trying to make finals and things like that, he would have been playing and he would have been playing through the Origin period. I don't think Harry Grant to Appy is... Like, we just went through the buy list and we didn't mention Appy. Like, Appy's been great for owners, but he's a guy that can score 30 or 90 on any given night. Like, Harry Grant, I feel like, could score 44 or 156.
Okay. It's a big range. I mean, if he scores 156, I'll be very happy. He owes me big time this year. I've never started with Harry Grant in the last 5 years. I've never started with him, and I did this year, and it's kind of hurt me a little bit, but that's all right. Harry Grant is a hold. Now, the last one on the list, and the one that I'm really struggling to get my understanding around, like why people are trading Fletcher Sharp this week. 352k, 38 break even, which is more than fine. Kalen Pong is not playing this week. He gets the starting fullback role, and people are still trading him out, which is just baffling. So if you're one of these people, please reverse that trade. One, at fullback, there's really not anybody that you're going to want to get this week to replace him anyway. Like, he's a number. He's a good number in a good high upside position in a game where there's going to probably be some points scored too, to be fair. Fletcher Sharp's the perfect hold this week, might even make you cash. And then next week you can trade him out, have some cash in the bank and go up to a Ponga, go up to a Walsh, go up to one of these keepers for the run home.
So let's talk about fullbacks. You've got Kinney, you've got Gutho, you've got Buller, you've got Kennedy, you've got Trey Fuller and Jai Gray. He's probably, the third best fullback this week? Like, I absolutely have no idea. He's right up there with, honestly, flip a coin between him and Tyrell Sloan. Because, he's right up there as top 3, top 4 fullback this week. Absolutely keep him.
Agreed. Brent is enjoying his Fuller hold, which, I mean, full credit to you. It's actually played out quite well with all of the injuries and everybody going down. But for me, Fletcher Sharp's a hold. Reassess next week. It's honestly, we've been blessed by Kalen Ponga getting picked in Origin because not only is he picked off the bench, which means there's probably going to be no backing up issues for the Knights in round 20. We also get Fletcher Sharp this week. So it's a blessing in disguise. So definitely hold him and use him this week. Now, there are some players, unfortunately, that have been injured and some players we need to jump off. So let's talk about the sells. And I'm just thinking in my head in that little 3 seconds that potentially we could be selling players that aren't on the sell list and buying maybe players. Oh no, we're buying players that are on the buy list. But we're actually moving off a couple of guys that aren't on this sell list. So maybe we have to add them. Nico Hines, obvious, but wait for next week, in my opinion. I don't think it's the right week to move off Nico. Do you agree?
I think the second that Nathan Cleary's back is the week to move off Nico. As somebody that was really patient and held on to SJ, maybe for a little bit too long, but maybe for a week, not long enough because I was waiting for Nico to drop in cash. I think that you can just hold Nico. He's not going to lose money when he's not playing. I think that you're going to have the depth. If you're playing somebody like Jake Tungo this week, he's just as likely to score as many points as Jaden Campbell, for example, or somebody like that. Like, yes, if you ask me who's going to score more between Jaden Campbell and Jake Tungo, I'm going to tell you Jaden Campbell, but it's not worth trading Nico for. I think we're going to wait for Cleary to come back. I think some people are going to be skeptical because there's so many people in the chat that said, like, Nico wasn't a buy with his high break even and everything like that. Cleary will be a buy at some stage, even if the first week he's not right. Yeah, just wait. Like Nico to Cleary, you've probably got sub 10 trades left. Just do that.
Cleary with 177 break even. There's argument maybe that you could wait a week and let him drop a little bit of cash. But fuck, we're chasing points at this time of the year. There is a good question that we will come to a little bit later. I can't remember who it was, but was asking basically, when do we stop caring about break evens and just chase points? So that is a very relevant conversation to have for sure. The next one, mate, is a guy we both have in our team, and we've kind of maybe presented an argument to sell him, Val Holmes. Talk to me about it. Sell me on it, because I kind of need you to.
I wish I traded him out last week. He dropped cash last week. He's been relatively disappointing in the last little period. I held on to him because you hold on to Val through the Origin period. It was great last year. We probably thought that him playing the Bulldogs in round 27 was going to be easy. The Bulldogs are a really hard team to play. The Broncos will be coming into some form. The Sharks are still defensive powerhouses. Melbourne are still good at football. Look, even the Tigers aren't maybe as bad as you thought they were going to be. So they're playing the Bulldogs twice into all those other teams that I've spoke about. He's been disappointing. Like, I don't know what his 4-round average is, but as an owner, I've been disappointed. He's dropped cash this year. Do you really want him to drop any more cash? He's got a 3-round average of 57. Like, could you just use that money elsewhere, trading out a guy that's not playing round 19 to... I think the perfect trade is somebody like a Jake Tungo to fund all these trades to get these Origin players back, because Val isn't an Origin player that I want anymore. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's sad, isn't it? But I was looking at Val, and he's another one that, if you held on to him, he'll be a pod for the run home. But is he even a pod you want? Because when you look at his season average, he's got a 75 season average, and you look at that and you go, fuck, he's got a better season average than Ruben Garrick. And we consider Ruben Garrick a must-have, basically. So we're looking at Holmes, we go, 75.5 average, that's fine. But when you look at it, he's had 144 and 136, two really big blowout scores for him that have dragged that average up. And then you look at the rest of his scores, and we're looking at scores of 50s, even sub-50s, a couple of scores that are around the 60 mark, but there hasn't been anything that's really blown us away with consistency with Val. And just the Cowboys are amazing one week and fucking horrendous the next. I just don't have any confidence in the Cowboys for the run home either. But the argument to hold him would be that they play 5 of their last 7 games at QCB at home in Townsville. So, that's probably the one piece of doubt that puts in my mind with Val. But again, I'd probably lean towards sell more than hold.
Yeah, he's going to be playing. I don't think he's going to be rested, but I would argue that I don't even think they're going to make the 8 with that run home. The Doggies are a lot better team than we thought they were going to be. And yeah, I think that they're a team that can take care of, and they're playing twice. That's why I keep bringing up the Doggies. But even if they beat the Doggies, they're not going to, what's he running at Stephen Crichton? He's not going to be scoring a lot of points.
It's a good point. Crichton
that's
will...
That's 2 out of 7 games.
Yeah, for sure. Good shout. Tolu Kola, move him on 4 weeks and probably back to centre. So we can move him on, I think. Unfortunate for those of us that bought him last week, but yeah, you've got to make the move now and correct the mistake. Morgan Smithies, I don't know why people still have him, but he's definitely a move on. People are still trading him for good reason. Chance Nickel-Klokstad, unfortunately, 540k calf injury. Again, so many injuries for CNK, like lower limb injuries and issues with his body. There's just a lack of confidence for me there with him now. And I'll be the first to say that I was putting my hand up and saying that he was a hold, because his scores reflected the fact that he was a hold. And then he's gone on this three game average of fucking 40. So it's unfortunate, but yeah, you've got to bail on him now as well. And JMK. I think JMK is also a trade because he's going to be out for near on the season. I think it ended up being 6 to 8 weeks for JMK as well last week. So unless the Dolphins make the finals, we won't be seeing JMK again this year. So if you've held on for this week, yeah, it's time to move him on as well. But Big talking point, mate, Latrell Mitchell, because look, there could be an argument to hold him if it's only 4 weeks. We'll find out in 2 weeks whether he's going to need season-ending surgery or not. He could be back within a month. Is that enough to hold Trell, or do you think the 920K is too much to be holding?
I think hopefully we find some news a little bit earlier than maybe before the end of, I suppose, the start of lockout for round 20. But I think maybe he is a hold for a week to spend that 919K on Origin players. So, yeah, maybe it's just a hold 1 week, much the same as Nico. But, yeah, you're going to be trading him out, I think. I don't think there's a world I think maybe they lose. If they lose this week and lose the next week and start to become out of Origin finals contention, he just gets shut down. They look after him. He gets the surgery he needs, and then he ducks off. So,
I think that's probably what they're doing. They're trying to buy 2 weeks to go. Are we still in the hunt here? Can we push to get him back into the team a little bit early, or do we just shut him down? And I think that's where it's at the moment. So, yeah, you could probably hold this week, to be fair. And if Souths lose this week, it makes it even harder for them to make it back. So I think if we see 2 losses, we'll see Latrell probably done for the season. And I guess that's probably why we haven't talked about Jai Gray that much. I actually think that Jai Gray is a good player and a pretty good option at 270K. There's just that inkling of doubt, isn't there, that if Souths go on a little bit of a run and they win their next 2 games, we might see Trell back in a month. And it's not really 2 trades we can afford on a guy like Jai Gray.
Honestly, if you're talking like somebody said that I had some Skip Bayless plays on, says on Miles Bridges, I honestly think that Jai Gray's a better buy than Jaden Campbell this week, because you're going to be spending that money elsewhere. You're going to get that same sort of upside. You're going to get the same sort of player at the same position. There's no reason Jai Gray just won't score tremendously through this period and then drop out. But there's also the fact that Jaden Campbell could be pushed to a position that he doesn't score very well at. There was a reason he started the year at 400K and he's played a lot of footy. He was basically a bench player. Who's not to say that they just do something like that?
It's Brimson in the 18 jersey that's worrying me about Jaden Campbell. Because we just don't know where Jaden Campbell's going to end up. With Brimson even, he could end up back in the centres and Campbell stays in the halves, and that's all well and good. Keeney hasn't been bad enough to be dropped either, but wouldn't it just be a Des Hasler thing to do to bring AJ Brimson back into the team, and he ends up playing at fucking 5'8", 4.5, JC back in the 14 jersey off the bench as impact or something weird like that. And if you went and bought Jaden Campbell this week and then he gets benched, you'd be fucking ropeable. And
at least if Jai Gray falls out, you paid 270 fucking K for him, not 620.
Yeah, exactly. So much less risk getting a guy that at that price sub 300K than paying 650 or 620 for Jaden Campbell. So, and yes, Wayne, there is every chance Brimson could end up in the front row with the way Des coaches. So who knows? So Raymond Crane's got a bit of a scoop watching the Matty John show. He said that the coaches said that he won't be playing in the centres. So if you take anything from that, then he's either going to be at fullback or he's going to be in the halves. And so where does Jaden Campbell go then? Does it end up being a Foran, Campbell and Brimson half fullback combination? A bit stiff on Keeney, to be fair, if he drops out, because he's been awesome.
Keeney's been fantastic.
Yeah. It's a bit of a tricky situation, a bit of Tetris going on there with the Titans. So, yeah, a bit of risk there in terms of positioning. So I agree. That brings us to the end. That's buy, hold, and sell, done and dusted. And it moves us into the squeeze of the week, which is brought to you by the Standard Squeeze, long-term sponsors of the show. If you are sick of breaking glass bottles, if you're sick of your beers getting warm, you're sick of your coffees getting cold in the morning, the Standard Squeeze have you covered. They help you drink responsibly, and also conveniently, they've got food-grade quality plastic products. They're little 4-in-1 mugs here, like that I've got here. It keeps my drink nice and cold, my coffee hot. Mattrix has got his perfect pour there. It has a 30 ml pour. You just squeeze the combo pack little plastic container there, and it helps you know how much you've drank. And in Mattrix's case, it helps you keep track of how many drinks you've had in each podcast so that you can try and break the record. What's the record sitting at the moment?
9.
Okay. So,
but that's not including whiskey. That's just tins.
Just beers, yeah. Okay, that's a solid effort. And then probably when you have about your 6th or 7th beer as well, to be fair, the whiskey then comes out. So it's always added, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I really like your shirt today. Like the standard squeeze do have some pretty I actually really rate their hat and their shirt as well. Like while you're on there, you may as well just get a good bit of apparel while you order all these. I've got the little slim line behind me. I've got all the different sizes. I think I've got gin in that little one behind me. Just depending how spicy I am. I like to drink gin on an NBL or an NBA episode, but it's all whiskey for you guys in the NRL, for you ladies and gentlemen. So
Yeah, I love that. Love that. That's good. I'm on dry July at the moment, so no alcohol for me. But I tell you what, it's ready to keep my beers nice and cold when I get back on the 1st of August.
I sent you some solutions for dry July. You could drink Tooheys Extra Dry. You could drink Super Dry. You could drink Carlton Dry. You could drink Forex Dry. Like, mate, you know what? Come to me with your problems. I will come to you with solutions.
You will give me solutions, absolutely. But yeah, it's the standard squeeze are fantastic, and you can use the coupon code. We've gone off track. You can use the coupon code. It's IFS15. So get yourself 15% off on their website, standardsqueeze.com. Let's talk about the squeeze of the week. That is the top scorer of the Unlimited League. We are in obviously round 18, has done and dusted now, and the top scorer for last week was Sean, coach of the Average Joes, with a 1,628, which I went and opened his team up, and he had Teddy as captain for obvious reasons. He also had Trell, he had Jerome Hughes, and he had Barnett, all big tons. And then he also had some 90s from Appy, from Nicaragua. I mean, Gus had 80 and a couple of other 80s. Like, I was struggling to find a player that actually failed for his team this week. So well done to Sean. Reach out to us, mate. On either you can send us an email, hit us up on socials, or just go to the store and click contact us in the description below, and we'll get in touch with you, mate, and let us know what you want, whether it's a 4-in-1 or a combo pack. We'll get it sorted out for you. And we've still got Quentin, coach of the Dead Hand Gang. He holds on to the lead and is also in second overall. So, Quentin, hopefully you can close it out, mate. Looking forward to seeing you finish it off. Now, let's move into the games, mate, for this week, because weather's not overly relevant this week, which is great. So we won't dive too much into that just yet, but we will update everybody on the weather and what that looks like in the Discord. You can join the free Discord in the description below as well. But 0 to 1 mil of rain. So we'll reassess Thursday.
Wear your hat front ways because it's going to be sunny.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Or if you want to be like us, who are over 30 and still wear hats, you can do that too, because that makes us cool.
Fuck. I tell you what, that guy doesn't battle with receding hairlines the way that you and I do.
Mm-hmm. That is very correct. Let's talk the players, teams on the bye. We've got the Roosters, we've got the Bulldogs, the Cowboys, the Raiders, the Panthers, the Storm, the Warriors are all on the bye. So that's 7 teams on the bye. We've got 5 games to get through. So we'll talk about the ins and outs from those teams in the first game, Thursday, 8 p.m. Isn't it good to have a Thursday game? Like I feel like the more days that have football on, the better for me at the moment. Do you agree?
Yeah, you know what? I love a Thursday game. Quite often I've got something like, the boys go for a little scooey moi or something on a Friday afternoon. So you miss the start of the first game. You know what I've got on Thursdays? Fuck all. Footy. Mm-hmm. And that's often the game that I enjoy watching the most. I don't usually enjoy watching the Dolphins, but I might enjoy watching them run rampant over the Rabbits at KO.
It could be that way. I'm probably leaning towards the Dolphins winning this one, but Josh doesn't agree. We'll talk about our bets a little bit later.
I agree with Josh.
Do you?
Yeah, I think the Dolphins, honestly, the Bunnies, it's such a kick in the pants that Latrell's out. And just for their morale, just that he's out for a few more weeks. I know they're missing Hamiso and missing that else, missing Felice Kafusi, but Fuller in for Hammer. That's good. Bostock's back this week. Plath's playing hooker. Look, Kenny Bromwich is playing lock. TPJ is starting. I tell you what, if it wasn't TPJ season before, it is now. I
mean, I still hate it, but I know I would urge people not to buy TPJ this week. He's definitely not a buy. But if you went and got him when he came back because you got a bit excited, then it played out for you well this week. But you're talking as if Josh took the Dolphins head to head. in his bet when he definitely did not.
Oh, did he take the other team?
He took Rabbitohs head to head.
I agree with you. Fuck.
Okay, good. All right. Jai Gray in for Trell. Michael Cheekham in for Cam Murray, who are obviously he's away for Origin. But that's kind of the only changes there. Any other buys we haven't talked about or any other players we need to be looking at? Because these are two very relevant teams when we're talking Supercoach. Like we've got Max Plath, we've got Jai Gray, we've got, Cody Walker this week could be a Nico replacement. Alex Johnson, yuck.
Yeah, you're rambling. You're missing out the 2 buys this week.
Go on, who is
and
it?
It's you and Aitken. Because he's playing the buy round. He gets 65s for fun. If you need some stability in your center wing, then get him. He's not a buy at second row forward with all these other elite guys that we've got. I'm not going to be doing it this week because I think I'll just bring Hamoli in via my Jules or via some of these other guys. But Jermaine Asako as well. He's 600K. At the start of the year, if you told me he was 600K, I would be all in. And that's the only point because I don't really rate him as much more than that. But the Dolphins are going to be needing him. They're going to get the ball out wide. They're not going to be doing as much through the middle with some of their guys that are out. And I think Jermaine Asako and Ewan Aitken could be definite vice-captain options this week.
I like the Jermaine Asako play just due to the fact that Souths concede the most tries in the competition to right wingers this year. So, when we're looking at that matchup, it's probably the best matchup Jermaine Asako is going to have all year, especially with no Trell, no Cam Murray up the middle. Dolphins have a chance to ambush the Rabbitohs, I'd call it. But, they are favourites. So I'd say they wouldn't be favourites, though, if Trell was playing and Murray was playing in this one. If they had their full-strength teams, I'd say the Rabbitohs would probably be favoured in this one. But, I tend to agree. I like Aitken. I've got Aitken in fantasy, and I've got him in Dream Team. I just don't have him in Supercoach. But, a quality player, and the dual position is very nice. So I tend to agree.
If it was any other year, we'd be so excited about this guy with this excellent base that we could play at center wing. Yeah, we've been blessed with so many really good options with great draws, like your Ruben Garricks and your Dom Young's been a play every week, and your Carraz and these guys with really high base. But on any other given year, I think we'd be talking about Ewan Aitken as must-have. Must-have.
The initial, there was a lot of interest the initial first few rounds, seeing him get 80 minutes on an edge, and we were like, fuck, he could be all right. But there was a risk there that they were going to bring Connolly Lemuelu in, and we weren't quite sure on whether he was going to end up at centre or end up off the bench, because we've seen Wayne fuck around with Aitken a little bit with positioning. So, there was a bit of risk there initially, but he would have been an awesome buy, wouldn't he? Like round 5, 6, because you'd be in a pretty good spot, I would imagine, if you got him then. Friday, 8 p.m, mate, is the Sharks versus the Tigers at PointsBet. Nico's out, obviously. He's replaced by Daniel Atkinson, who, again, when Daniel Atkinson and Braden Trindle were halves partners, the Sharks didn't lose games. So maybe this could be a benefit for them. Sione Katoa, he is back from his HIA. Teague Wilton comes on to start because Talakai is out suspended for that hit last week, but they're the only changes really there that are relevant. We've got Lob on the wing, Fartape at centre, Olam's out for the Tigers. And one that people would be very happy with to get an extra number in round 19, Ruben Porter comes in to replace Matamua, who was dropped out, and Porter gets a bench spot. So happy days for... Does Porter get a bench spot, or is he starting?
No, I think he's starting. My NRL Supercoach... my NRL fantasy team is very excited about Ruben Porter in the 17 jersey. Sorry. But I was ruled out. I thought I was missing 3 players, but I'm only missing 2 this week because Porter's back. So look, it's great. You definitely don't add a Porter. But it's a little nugget of a gift this week.
There is a player that we'll talk about soon that would be a better buy than Porter if you're looking for 2RF cheapie, for sure. So, we'll chat about him. But Fanua Bole has been named at lock this week, and obviously Matamua has dropped out of the team completely. So that is the Tigers. I still think that we'll do all right. I think I actually don't mind our chances this week. No Nico, the Sharks haven't actually been that great. So it is at PointsBet, which will make it a bit challenging for the Tigers, but I'll back us in there to be competitive. Anybody you buying from the Sharks or the Tigers this week?
I think he's on our buys every week because he keeps dropping cash, but I think Ronnie Mulatalo at 450k, if you don't own him, like if we're talking about 200k blokes, if we're talking about 300k blokes to bring in because you need to free up some cash, imagining going a Val to a Ronaldo Mulatalo maybe with similar sort of upside due to this poor form that Ronnie Mulatalo's been going through would excite me. So I own him. I'm going to be holding. But if I didn't own Ronaldo, he would be a buy.
Is there a chance that Ronaldo gets a little bit more ball now with Trindle kind of running the show? Because
best man at his wedding, I'm sure.
I reckon.
I don't know if he's married.
Maybe I'm just more hoping than anything. But with Nico in the side and Trindle, Ronnie was catching a cold. So I'm just hoping maybe Trindle's left side dominance will probably come out a little bit more with Atkinson. But I'm not 100% sure.
I get excited all the time because Ronaldo has these moments of brilliance. Like, have you seen him just like take the ball and then just make these runs through the middle late on in the game when everybody's a little bit tired because he's a little bit fresh? Yeah, look, I think that Ronaldo's still a vice captain option this week. So,
yeah, I don't know. I don't think I agree. More so because. And I'm maybe hopefully trying to create a little bit of like reverse psychology because I seem to break Ronaldo Mulatalo. Shout out to Simon. I break him every year when I buy him, and I've done it again this year. But
are you wearing your shirt?
No, it's it's just a plain black one tonight underneath because I didn't need to worry about what was on underneath the jumper. But yeah, it gets a wear when I'm going to bed. That's for sure.
Yeah, cool.
Otherwise, yeah, look, I mean, is Trindle a buy? I saw that as a question in the comments. What do we think about Braden Trindle as a buy? Should he should probably get the goal kicking as well from memory, shouldn't he?
I mean,
maybe.
I
think he had it when Nico was out last time.
Yeah, I mean, sure. But I'm not too excited about Trindle and his 40s. So
me neither.
Yeah,
that's fair.
If we're not excited about if everyone's not bringing in Ronaldo Mulatalo this week, they shouldn't be bringing in Braden Trindle. You're not going Nico Hines to Braden Trindle.
No, agree with that. Definitely hold off. Don't make that move. Let's move on to Saturday 5:30. We don't have the 3 p.m. game, which is fine with me because usually I'm out or doing things, so I won't miss that one. But Saturday 5:30, Titans and Eels at Seabus. There could be some points scored in this one. Campbell back at 5'8", Brimson in the 18. Pahulu replaces Mo Fodawaker as well, and obviously Cleese Haas comes back in on the edge for the Titans. And for the Eels, we've got Dejan Arce replacing Mitchell Moses. We've got Mulatalo and Tango on the wings. We've got Talangi at centre, and I'm sure Eels fans would be very happy to see that Sean Russell has dropped out of the team and been replaced by Lorenzo Mulatalo there. And one guy that I am very interested in moving forward is Charlie Geimer, who's starting at lock for the Parramatta Eels. Lane on the bench, though, kind of muddies it a little bit, Matty. I'm not 100% sure it stays that way. I think maybe Geimer drops back. Lane starts at lock.
Yeah, I do think so. But you might see some good minutes. If anything, like, it's a reward. I tweeted out how impressed I was with Charlie Geimer last week. And I nearly think, like, form-wise, he's just sort of taken that from Lane. Like, yes, Lane is the tried and tested guy that you would probably be there. But Charlie Geimer was great last week. So I would just wonder whether Trent's rewarding him and just putting him in the starting spot to try and send a message to Lane that his play really hasn't been up to standard.
And I mean, it's also interesting to watch what happens for the Eels. They're in last, equal last. They won't be playing finals footy. Trent Barrett has now officially been replaced by Jason Riles, who will be coaching the Eels on a 4-year contract from next year. So, like, really, is now Trent Barrett just going to start fucking around a little bit before he finishes up and giving some young blokes a crack before he moves on? Because
I mean, if he's serious about getting a head coach position, he should try and get some wins.
I don't think it's going to happen personally, but I mean,
ever.
Yeah, for Trent Barrett, and Paul Black's just had some pretty rough luck, really. But it's just shown maybe he's not up to speed with coaching in the NRL, unfortunately. But yeah, Charlie Geimer, if you're looking for a 2RF nuff, probably could be the ultimate pick if you're looking for a nuff at 2RF this week that can play. It seems like the Eels are just feeding us ultimate nuff opportunities this week. So you've got Jake Tungo at centre wing. You've got Charlie Geimer at 2RF. Most of us, I'm hoping.
Lorenzo?
Yeah, Lorenzo, if you want someone who's probably going to drop out next week. There's some good opportunities there to get some players this week and get some numbers, but also then not have some AE nightmares moving forward. So, yeah. And big fan of Charlie Geimer. I reckon he'll play a bigger role with Parramatta next year too. I reckon he could be a pretty good option next year when we're talking preseason. So keep an eye out for him. We talked about Jaden Campbell. Won't talk about him forever. Any other Titans options? I mean, Brian Kelly seems to be the pod at centre wing that everyone's talking about, but probably not for me.
Are they?
I just don't think the upside.
I mean, I just looked at the third highest scoring centre wing that's actually playing this week, and yeah, Brian Kelly was one of those blokes. But yeah, surely if you're spending the money to go Brian Kelly, you're just getting like an Asako or an Aiken. Yeah,
I agree. Asako is definitely the pick over Kelly this week. Final game on Super Saturday at 7:30. Your Broncos versus the Dragons at Suncorp. Obviously, you lose Walsh, Carrigan, Haas, and Cobbo to Origin, but you've got Sailor, you've got Smoothie, you've got Willison who starts as well, which is great for my fantasy team. And Staggs is back, which is great. So he's back from that funeral. Josh Rogers is going to come in at halfback for Madden. And then we've got Jordan Ricky back from suspension as well. So you got some troops back, but you also lose your Origin guys. How do you feel about this one up against the Dragons?
I don't really understand the Tyson Smoothie at 13. Like, I think like a Kobe Hetherington or somebody like that. Like, we've obviously elected to go small to get our best troops, I suppose, out there. We're really slim in there at in our middle forwards and everything like that. But we've got Karapani and Blake Moser coming off the bench. Like, I understand why Tyson Smoothie isn't there as well, but yeah, I would probably prefer Kobe coming through the middle than Tyson Smoothie, but he's a bit of a tackle bot. I do like our chances, I think, against the Dragons this week. I think that if we can come in with a little bit of form, like, just remember, like, we're talking about, our depth at halfback. Jesse Marshke is the other halfback. So, yeah, Josh Rogers was pretty good in his first game. We might be all right. I think there could be a few points scored between these two teams.
Yeah, okay. I love the look of Xavier Willison's minutes potential this week. Looking at that bench, we could see Willison play 50, 55 minutes this week, I reckon, with Haas out. Hetherington's going to cover for Smoothie. Moser's probably going to relieve Walters at some point, maybe. I don't know how that plays out. Karapani, can he play in the back row? Karapani, is that how they've been using him at the moment?
No, he's a centre.
So what is this bench? Like, I think there's every chance we see maybe Corey Pakes could come in. Like, I don't know. I don't know how they play this, but they're very thin. You've only named 3 replacements in your extended bench here too.
Yeah, I honestly, like, we don't have anyone else. We've got Josh Rogers from reserve grade. Like, lucky Josh Rogers had a bye last week and he's had a little bit of a rest. But yeah, honestly, like, we're taking people from outside our top 30. We've got 13 of our top 30 out at the moment. Yeah, it's dire straits, but I still think Tristan Saylor's been playing good footy. Corey Oates has played enough footy there. Tony Staggs is a massive in this week for us, especially defensively. When we haven't been scoring that well in attack, Tony Staggs is definitely a stopper there. Karapani's been great, but yeah, he's a centre or a wing. You've got Moser. I think that he will replace Billy. Yeah, I don't really know. Maybe a Kobe Hetherington will come in through the middle and then replace somebody through the second row, or maybe even play front row for Willison. It's hard to work out what Kevy's going to do, but definitely down on troops. This is a weird team.
And it's also, they're down on troops for Dragons as well. Then no Lomax, no Hunt. Ravalawa comes back in on the wing for Lomax, which is probably more of a defensive liability than anything else. So for anybody who likes an anytime try scorer bet, it's got to be Corey Oates, doesn't it?
Corey Oates. I think after having a chat, I think that might be my bet this week, just when that comes up.
I like it. All right, Raymond Fatala-Marin is back. Leilua drops to the bench, and Jack Bird is in the reserves as well. So good to see him coming back from that ankle injury from a few weeks ago. So And then, so Lyle in the chat saying that heard Oates has a knee problem and might drop out for Karapani. So maybe just hold your bet a little bit until a little bit later. But
No, I'll put it in.
At least it gets voided if he doesn't play, so that's fine.
So whatever Josh picks, I get money back. That's great.
Yeah, pretty much. Unless mine loses, because that's pretty frequent too. But there's no one I'm looking at with the Dragons, so I won't spend too much time on them as a buy this week, I don't think. With their run home as well. The Dragons run home looks pretty awful. So, yeah, not a fan of picking anyone up this week for the number. Sunday, 4 p.m, though, there's plenty of relevance here. Sea Eagles and Knights at 4 Pines Park. Turbo back at fullback. Lehigh Hopewadi on the wing. Talauda centre. We've got Jamie Humphreys who comes in and replaces DCE. I'm a fan of Humphreys. I reckon he's a good player. So we get to see a bit of him this week. And Nathan Brown is going to replace Gerbo at lock. Lawton also then replaces Burbo, who we missed in the injury report at the start. Burbo is out with a HIA on 11-day stand down from last week. So anybody hoping he was going to be a number this week, unfortunately, you miss out on Burbo. But the conversations around Turbo, we spoke about him a little bit earlier in the show, so we won't double dip on Turbo, but there's a bit going on at the Knights, isn't there? Because this has probably got to be, the most Origin players picked from Newcastle in the last 5, 6, 7 years. Ponga, Gagai at best, all out. But Sharp, Mapapalungi, Lucas, and Thomas Kant came in, and Crossland's back at hooker and Elliott's back at lock. So some positives there for the Knights. What are your thoughts on this one, mate? Because we talked a lot about in buy, hold, and sell about Kai Pearce-Paul. We also talked a lot about Turbo. How are you playing this?
I think they'll be all right defensively. I think that scoring points might be a little bit of an issue. I think this definitely hurts one Gregory Marju, which has become an excellent buy in this week. But yeah, I suppose with Ponga, Gagai, and Best out, it's really hard to just work out where they're going to score their points. Maybe in the second row forwards, but yeah, I think that the Sea Eagles could run rampant on them in this one.
They're definitely going to be some points scored, I reckon. Now, Jamie Humphreys is an interesting one, and the question here from Adam in the chat, is Humphreys a one-game nuff? Yeah, he is. He's probably the perfect example of a one-game nuff, knowing that DCE is going to come back. And more often than not, DCE always backs up, so that's fine. But for me, halfback and hooker are two positions I don't really want to nuff in. Especially if you've got Harry Grant, if you've got you don't really want to have a non-playing hooker if you've got Harry Grant and know what's going on there. And at halfback, it's not really a position that you want to have a non-playing nuff in either. So, yeah, probably not for me. But Will Price is an interesting one. What are your thoughts on Will Price? Because first game, he was great. Second game, he had a bit of a stinker, really. He still scored okay Supercoach-wise, but a lot of errors there. Obviously, he's a young kid, so you're not going to expect too much from him. Do we like Will Price?
I do not think, to answer Mark's question, that he's locked in his spot. I don't think he was good enough in the second game to solidify that. I think if he played like he did in his first game, for the next game and the next game, then yeah, he will solidify his spot. But I think Adam O'Brien's pretty loyal. I think that it is Tyson Gamble's spot until he fucks up. And I think when Tyson Gamble's ready, which the news was round 20, round 21, Will Price will just drop out. And at 350K, you talked me out of it in the first week. If he was 200K, then yeah, let's get Will Price in this week. But he's 350K. I think you can use that 150K elsewhere and just, go one of these Parramatta nuffs.
Agreed. 100%. It's the 345K price tag for me. That's what it is. We look at his scoring and he's gone 60. He's averaged 64.5, which is fantastic. And I'm not a fan of Gamble. I don't rate Gamble at all. To come to Mark's comment here saying that he's better than Gamble, I agree. I think he is.
He is.
I just think that Adam O'Brien has an obsession with Tyson Gamble and refuses to understand that he's mediocre and actually a handbrake for this Knights team when he's in the halves. So, yeah, for me, I don't know whether they're going to hold. I think this is probably just an experience thing for Will Price. Give him a few games.
He's only 21.
Yeah. Gamble
Did you see the thing that Elliot Whitehead played against Leon Price?
Yeah.
Yeah, when he played in 2009 or 2008, and then he played against Will Price in 2023. So 2024, sorry. I'm living in the past.
Maybe that shows Elliot Whitehead's age more than anything else. But
yeah,
and
probably.
then I saw an even better stat that a lot of players have played against Sifa Talakai and his son Morgan Harper. So it's not the only father son combo that's been running around in the NRL. Shout out to
I
Morgan.
rate that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, sorry, Morgan. Big friend and fan of the show. I appreciate your attacking stats.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. That's essentially the games for this week and the changes to the teams. But let's have a chat about some captaincy and some VC loop options this week.
Are you ready, kids?
Aye, aye, Captain!
You mentioned one as a pretty good buy and a guy that you would probably target at the Dolphins, Jermaine Asako. Pretty good VC loop option to start off the week, isn't he, against the South's right edge? Pretty leaky.
Yeah, you probably pointed out as the side that leaks the most amount of points. I know JMK and blokes like that are missing, but I think that's going to cost the Dolphins some points and maybe cost them some attacking stats because they're going to be spending a lot of time standing under their own points, under their own posts. But realistically, the Dolphins have never had problems scoring, and I think it'll be through blokes like Jermaine Asako. I think at 600k he's bottomed out, and he is a guy that you could bring in this week and chuck the blue armband on. So
I like it. Yeah, if you've got Jermaine Asako, he's a lock and load VC option for me. Cody Walker also potentially an option. If you think that the Rabbitohs are going to score some points, to be fair, it's going to come through Cody, isn't it? And more often than not, it's going to go down that right edge and it's going to go in Cody's hands. So if you think that the Rabbitohs are a chance, and Josh does this week, then maybe Cody could be a decent VC option. I'm just a little bit maybe wary of Cody's ceiling. Like it seems to be around that 110 mark, and that might be enough this week, which is another conversation.
You'll loop at 110. You'll probably loop at 87.5 this week.
Because that's a lower mark, isn't it? In a major buy, when often we don't have that VC loophole AE option or whatever, you're basically banking free points. So for the most part, if you've got 13, 14 players or whatever, you don't have to worry about copping a shit AE. You're just going to get your best 13 anyway. So yeah, I'm probably setting the line at around the 80 mark for VC in the major buys for me, especially with the lack of options. But speaking of lack of options, here's the most popular one by a country mile, I think, this week. It's going to be David Fafita, isn't it?
No, he's injured. Otherwise, he would have got picked for Origin.
Oh, that's true. He must be carrying a niggle or something. Yeah, you're right.
No, he had poor form in the preseason.
Yeah, 18 weeks ago, he didn't look that good. So, yeah, not worth picking him this week. He's a lock and load for me on whether I VC or see him. I'm not sure because I actually don't really have any decent options to VC before Fafita this week. And it doesn't make sense not to use your VC this week when you've got 13 players potentially or even less. So I'll probably VC Fafita and take anything over 80 and then look at maybe captaining someone like a Ruben Garrick, maybe. I'm not a Tom Trebojevic owner, but he's also an option. Is there anybody else that really appeals to you with the orange armband later in the week?
Honestly, David Fafita excites me with the orange armband. Thankfully, I'm not going to make any jokes about him sleeping with anyone in Billy Slater's family. I just think that maybe he's in Mrs. Slater's Supercoach team. So, I think that you captain somebody, and there's going to be plenty of points scored in the Dolphins Souths game, Sharks West Tigers game on those Thursdays and Friday nights. But I think you just chuck the C on one David Fafita in this game and ignore the rest of the games.
The problem I have with this is I don't have any Dolphins players in my Supercoach team, which seems bizarre considering they've had the best major buy schedule. I just never bought one because I didn't love them enough. I don't have a Rabbitohs player either. I don't have Keon. Keon could be an okay option as if you want someone safe to bank 70, 80. I don't have Cody Walker. I don't have Gagai, Alex Johnston, none of these guys.
You have Ronaldo Mulatalo. I told you earlier on. If you're going VC, you're chasing that upside. How many guys do you own that could score 150? And Ronaldo Mulatalo is one of those.
Is he going to score 150 though? You know what? To be fair, Tigers' right wing is where the points are, not the left. So maybe it's Sione Katoa. Maybe I bought the wrong winger. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Dom Young to Sione Katoa. Sorry, we're editing the buy hold sell. You should trade out Dom Young at 740k. Just save the trade. Sione Katoa. I tell you what, against the Tigers, he's going to score 100 plus.
Yeah, but one of us thinks you shouldn't do that. So maybe you should listen to that person. But yeah, I think Osako, great option. Fafita, lock and load. Have one of them on him. If you don't own Fafita this week, sort yourself out and buy him at whatever cost.
Give yourself an uppercut.
Yeah, give yourself an uppercut and get Fafita this week, I think. And look, Ruben Garrick, I don't mind. If you want to go VC Fafita, you're going to take 80 anyway. And if for some random reason Fafita goes down injured, praying he doesn't, but if he does, you've got your back up there. And, there's nothing saying that Ruben Garrick won't go down with a head knock again. Who knows how that's going to play out.
And Ruben Garrick's can sometimes score low being in the centres as well.
Also, we've got to remember Ruben Garrick's going to be running at that left centre, left wing combo. Marju is definitely not well known for his defence, actually quite a defensive liability. And then you've also got who's coming in at centre replacing Bradman Best, who's in the Origin camp, because that'll be a new combination that Marju isn't used to. So a bad defender on the wing combining with a new centre he hasn't played with this year. So for me, Garrick would actually be a really nice matchup.
Well, it could be. It's Dylan Lucas, isn't it?
Or Thomas Cant. I'm not quite sure. Dylan Lucas plays on the right. Does he play at right centre more often? From memory, I think he's covered at right centre for Gagai a fair bit more. So maybe they'll pop him over at right centre instead.
So basically what Thomas is saying is that you can or can't captain Ruben Garrick.
Yes, I think you can, personally.
Sorry, Thomas can't.
Thomas can't tackle him is the message that we're trying to get across. So, we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. But, yeah, Fafita, VC into Garrick C for me. But if you had Turbo, would you take a punt and just put the C on him? And if Fafita doesn't work?
I wouldn't captain him. He looked slow. I think if he was playing early on in the round, you could bring him in and vice-captain him. But, I mean, what's his floor? Probably 60. You could probably still captain him.
Yeah, you probably can, for sure. Punters Club's interesting this week.
Bringing him in.
Punters Club's interesting this week. We've got a few left field bets, don't we? So let's cover our bet for the week.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
Speaking of David Fafita, I've got him anytime try scorer at $2.20. Now, it seems a little bit short for David Fafita, but I reckon, isn't this the week that he just goes, fuck you, Billy, and just scores a double and scores 160? I just feel like it's one of those weeks where he's got a point to prove.
Yeah, look, I can't argue with that. It's a little short. I was on him last week. Didn't score. But, yeah, look, when you start taking guys out of the team, why wouldn't you just get it to David Fafita against the Parramatta Eels?
Spot on. Who's he running at? Bryce Cartwright?
Yeah, that's actually a good defender, to be honest. Bryce is all right.
Yeah, but Bryce is also fucking half the size of David Fafita. And most people are half the size of David Fafita. So, yeah, I'm backing him to get the ball a fair bit more this week with a point to prove. So, 220. Who have you got?
That's a really good question because I actually banned the Tigers from being picked for me to say that the Tigers are I am the only person that is allowed to back the Tigers this week. I do think the odds are okay for them, but looking at the Broncos matchup and who that he's up against in Mikali Ravalawa, it's going to be Corey Oates, anytime try scorer at Suncorp Stadium. One of the highest try scorers at Suncorp Stadium of all time, Corey Oates. He looked better last week. He looked really good last week. So, I'm excited to see what Causa can do. I think with me having a kid due this week or next week, I don't think we will be taking the plunge and going to Suncorp Stadium. But, Corey Oates, anytime try scorer at Suncorp Stadium, lock it in, Eddie.
Yeah, you love a Corey Oates at Suncorp bet. So that's pretty much locked every week. I think there was a week where you missed a pod and it was me and Josh and you hadn't got your bet to us in time and we just go, we'll just automatically put in the default bet of Corey Oates anytime try. He didn't score that week either, which was sad. But so you're on Oates anytime.
For a while.
I'm on Fafita anytime. Josh is on the Rabbitohs head-to-head, 270, I think it is. So
he actually wanted. We're probably going to double check because he actually wanted the Tigers against the Sharks, and I told him he couldn't.
No, I did. That was me. That was
you
my
did.
first.
You can have it if you want. But as I look at the team sheet, I start to think that maybe that's not the bet.
Yeah, I think we just stick with it because, if the Tigers win, I'll be happy, But if they lose, at least it didn't cost me money as well as being upset. So it's fine. Paul's got the wife watching the pod as well. How good's that? 90 seconds in, she says, is the guy in the white pissed or what? I mean, hey, you take your guesses. He's got his standard squeeze there. Shout out to Paul. Thanks for watching, mate. And shout out to your wife. What are our trades this week?
She goes, all right.
What are your Adam asked us what our trades are. We'll have a chat about them as we answer some questions as well. So let's move into question time for this week when I can find the stinger.
It's question time. Let's answer your questions for the week ahead.
All right, I'll tackle the first one. Mattrix is filling up. Tamari Martin, is he a trade from Khan the Corby? If so, who to? Now, Tamari Martin, it looked like from what we've seen, it was a jaw issue or something like that. So we're not quite sure on how that plays out. But I think Tamari's topped out in price anyway. I think his last scores have been pretty ordinary, and we're starting to see a bit of a Warriors regression leading into the back end of the season. So, yeah, for me, Tamari's a trade, especially in the important positions at 5'8" and fullback. Depending on where you have him is also depending on who you trade him to. But Tamari Martin to Jaden Campbell, don't mind that. If you've got him at 5'8", I think that's probably a decent play this week. Otherwise, if you've got him at fullback, it just depends on whether you need to create cash. I would probably say Tamari Martin to Jaden Campbell at 5'8". If you've got him there, that's probably the most obvious option this week. So that's probably what I'd go with. Adam88, with my trades this week and next week, what do you think of these halves for the rest of the season? Cleary, Burton, Jaden Campbell, and Dillbags. I mean, if you avoided Nico for starters, fantastic. Well done. Cleary and I'm assuming Nico to Cleary, though, will be the play in a week or two. So Cleary and Burton, I can't argue with either of those. I probably prefer Jerome Hughes, but I don't think you're going to go and spend $850K to get him in. And Jaden Campbell and Dillbags, look, excuse me, how often are you going to play both of your 5'8"s? That's probably the question I guess I have is, are you going to play Dylan Brown and Jaden Campbell on matchups? Are you going to buy $650K Jaden Campbell to sit him on the bench for half the games at the back end of the season? It probably just feels like a bit of a wasted trade for me. I'm kind of looking at how can I maximize my best 17 and then probably have maybe 3 players that I can play on matchup, 3 or 4 players that I'd comfortably play on matchup every single week. I was just saying in answer to Adam's question, yeah, like, do you agree with that on Jaden Campbell? Like, if you've already got Dillbags, Burton, and Cleary, are you really going to play your bench 5'8" every single week?
Yeah, so let me go back to the previous question and let me say go to Jai Gray. And then when you look at this trade, I say go to Jai Gray. Because, yeah, you're right, Braino. You're not going to play him every week. Let's free up some cash. I think Jai Gray's a really good guy to score through this bye period. I mean, we're talking about 1 week, so he's going to score really well. If Latrell comes back, he drops off the face of the earth. Great. You play Lockie Galvin or whoever else you've got there. Birdo. I just don't think you should spend the money on Jaden Campbell when Jai Gray literally has the same upside.
And with all of the upside at centre wing for the run home as well, with the Dom Youngs, the Manus, the Mulatalos, and all of these other guys that you want to pick because they've got nice matchups and nice draws, you're going to want to play them, right? And you're also going to want to play probably your 2RF4 most weeks because it's going to be a Eli Katoa or it's going to be a Hamoli or someone like that. So, yeah, you're probably buying in a position where you're not going to use it too much. So it kind of feels like a little bit of a waste of cash. Next one from Mitchell Finch. How many halfbacks have to go down before the 5th 2RF out averages the second best halfback? We're talking about Max Plath, I'm assuming. I don't know. I reckon it's not far off. I mean, if you've got Max Plath at 5'8" at the moment or halfback or wherever he's dual, can't really hate it too much, can you?
My worst average out of my 5th second row forward is 63.9.
Loaded. So you're in a good spot.
I don't have Max Plath either. So
Plath has been awesome all year. If you've got him, he could even just be the perfect 2RF5 to finish the year, and you just leave him there.
Or the 5'8" too. Like,
Yep,
we're
that too.
talking about all these 5'8s. Like, if you have Max Platt, just nuff out and move Max Platt down.
For sure.
Play Ruben
Definitely.
Porter this week, or who was the other bloke that you said is the perfect nuff for Tuareg?
Geimer. Charlie Geimer.
Just bring in Charlie Geimer and move you guys around. I don't know. I know that we're probably veering a little far away from the question, but probably one more.
Regan Bentley, using my 3 trades this week to get my team ready for the run home, grab Hughes or wait for Cleary. Should have 13 to 14. So if you've got 13 to 14, my opinion is to wait for Cleary. I think Hughes with Munster coming back will probably, maybe his scoring suffers a little bit, just not being the main guy that's doing everything. I know Munster's going to want to get his hands on the ball when he returns. I think it's around 21 or 22 that Munster's back. So I'd be waiting for Cleary. I think there's too much evidence of Nathan Cleary being a fucking weapon. You know, we're looking at this year's stats and we're going, oh, Cleary isn't the same anymore. It's such a small sample size when we've been looking at Nathan Cleary be a Supercoach gun for the last 4 or 5 years straight. A guy that can get you 150 to 180. And if we look at the Panthers draw, which is one thing we haven't done too much, is look at the Panthers draw. So we'll bring it up on the screen for everybody watching on YouTube. I'll quickly get it. For the run home, they play, if I can find them, they play the Dragons in round 21. Knights haven't been great in round 22. They play Para, who are probably one of the worst teams in the comp at the moment. Melbourne's going to be the only tough game for the Panthers, and then they play the Raiders, they play Souths, and they play the Gold Coast Titans to finish the season. The only risk for me is that we see a lot of restings for these guys in round 27, knowing that they're coming up against the Titans. They probably have their spot in the top 8 or the top 2 locked up by then. That's the only risk.
Yep, I agree with you 100%. Get Cleary when he's back. I think if you've got the trades, I don't think you can really go wrong with getting Cleary in at the price he's going to be.
Yep. All right. Adam 88's got another one. When do we start ignoring break-evens? There's a world where Turbo hits his 120 BE and Sharp doesn't hit his 38. Turbo's a pod captain option this week. So I'm assuming Adam's thinking about doing Sharp to Turbo this week as a play. What are your thoughts on this?
I wouldn't be doing this specific trade. If it's bringing in Turbo for a guy that you want to get rid of that's not playing this week, then fine. But honestly, with the way that Fletcher Sharp has been quite sharp out there, and Turbo has been a
Not
bit
Turbo.
slow, I would say not Turbo out there. I would just wait a week on this trade, let Turbo drop down in price, let Fletcher Sharp go up in price, and you've got 100K. I know we're not ignoring break evens, but tell me if you can't go a Samuel Afinu to Payne Haas for 100K and you did it through this trade. You're not having one of those little wins. I don't actually think that Turbo is actually a play this week for captain.
Yeah, I still think he's an option. I think it's impossible to ignore him at fullback. You know, but in saying that, I agree there's a tentative approach to Turbo. I'm not 100% sold. But to answer your question on when do we start ignoring break-evens, I mean, you can't ignore a Nathan Cleary 177 break-even because then it gets in your head and you start to think, well, I could wait a week. I could get Nathan Cleary a week, 100K cheaper. And then that 100K can make such a difference in the final team and the way that looks. So you're not ignoring them at all, ever, to be honest. But it's more a matter of when you get your final team sorted or when you know how much cash that you need for your final team, you've just got to work out, all right, and for me personally, I've done this, I need about 800K total in upgrades and probably about 4 upgrades to get my team completed, which will leave me with about 7 or 6 trades. And so based on those numbers, it's based on kind of predicted break-evens and predicted cash loss too over the next 2 to 3 weeks. So break-evens are relevant, but once your team's finalised or once you get to a point where you're chasing points, the Nathan Cleary 177 break-even maybe doesn't mean too much in round 23.
Yeah, and I mean, if you wait 1 week, then completely fine. But I'm also happy if I bring in Nathan Cleary, he scores 70 in his first week.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. All right, Wayne Mulligan is a very important question here. Is Mattrix a buy this week? Really disappointed in this Whisperer guy performing and not showing up, but like that Bunnies left winger, we're talking about Alex Johnston here. So basically, we've had Aman, friends of the show, being referred to as Viliami Fafita. We've now had Whisperer be referred to as Alex Johnston. who's your player this week, Mattrix? And let us know in the chat. Let us know who Mattrix is compared to this year. And are you a buy this week?
Oh, are you asking me or are you asking the guys in the chat?
I want to know if you're a buy. How you feeling? Fit? Healthy? Ready to go?
Yeah, actually, with the trades that I've spent this week, I really think that I am a buy this week. Fuck, how many people are putting that I'm a current day Oates? Corey Oates. Really like Corey Oates, to be honest, but I was more thinking that I'm like a Jai Gray or a Damien Cook or somebody along those lines.
Yeah, okay. Fair call.
What do you think if you had to compare yourself? Yeah, there we go. Vera Wine in the chat. I'm a prime Andrew Johns. I've got a signed Andrew Johns jersey actually in the cupboard. But who would you compare yourself to, Braino?
I don't know. I feel like I'm just maybe a little boring kind of plodder, like a 2RF plodder maybe. No, who's a guy that will never really let you down, but he also doesn't have a massive ceiling. I feel like that's me.
Do you think you're like a Jordan Ricky?
Nah, boring. No, I don't like Jordan Ricky. Maybe I'm Ewan Aitken. You know, I'm all right. You know, I'll meet my break even. I won't lose too much cash. I won't let you
You're
down
Morgan Smithies, mate. Sorry to break it to you.
Fuck off, please. Hey, and say Wayne Mulligan in the chat said that I'm Max Plath. I'll take that. That's fine. And even Yo and Raymond Crane, when we're not talking anymore, he's just referred to me as Smithies. So fucking hell, Gerbo. At least I'm a good bloke, you know. Thumbs up. The Gerbo thumbs up. Yeah. Everyone's saying Max Plath. I'm fine with that. I can deal with that.
Oh, you're an hero.
Oh, I mean, look,
is Corey Oates really the best comparison? I've met the bloke and he's about 6 foot taller than me.
Okay, so we've got Corey Oates or Miles Martin. They're good enough.
Think about Miles Martin. I bet you he smashes a lot of tins when he's not playing footy.
He would. You know, he does play cup football though. Just because he doesn't play NRL at all doesn't mean that he doesn't play football.
Yeah, maybe. I'll take Hudson Young. I rate that guy. Sometimes maybe good, always good.
Yeah, that's right.
He's fiery. Honestly, with how niggly he is, that's a bit of me.
Actually, that is. You're a Reed. Actually, to be fair, the best comparison for you is Reed Barney, to be honest. Just a niggler, fucking pest. That's you.
True.
Sam Caulfield, could Barnett be the pod 2RF for the season? New Zealand with a good draw and just be aware of round 27. Yeah, so they're on the buy in round 27. So Sam's already done his research. But I like Barnett. I just don't like him as a 2RF pod. I think he's saying 2 front row, 2 FR. If I'm reading
Yep.
We're talking front row forward 2. Absolutely. Love it. I think it's a good play. But you're going to need to make sure that you've got a Fainu at front row forward 3 or something like that you can play in round 27.
And I just don't really like him at the price he's at. Like, I put out some tweets earlier on in the year, and I know I didn't take my own advice, but I was just really excited about Mitch Barnett through this period. I thought he was going to get picked at Origin, so I didn't pick him up. But, yeah, realistically, he is probably a front row forward 1, to be honest, with how good he's been.
Absolutely. Can't agree. Can't argue with that. Snicko, is Holmes to Greg Marju worth a trade? Greg the leg. Worth a trade this week. 11 trades with enough cover this week and next already. Okay, so Holmes to Marju? Tickle your fancy? You don't really make much money out. It's like 100K.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I know that we're talking about, like, it's only that we're talking off air about going Jake Tungo in. But, like, I think Greg Marju's a play every week when Ponga's playing. Yeah, I do really like the trade. Just don't expect too much this week. Like, obviously, he's going to score more than Holmes this week. But, yeah, through the stretch, I think Greg Marju will be really good. I think he might touch 680.
Fair. All right. Jono Davis, is Nikora to Olakawatu this week a go? Break-evens make waiting on Olakawatu tough. I agree. Olakawatu's a buy this week because an 8 break-even, but is Nikora a sell to get to him? I'd rather go Kai Pearce-Paul personally to Olakawatu.
We don't know if this guy has Kai Pearce-Paul, but if you've got the numbers this week, then Nikora to Olakawatu does make a lot of sense, but I would argue that maybe you could do with both down the stretch.
I'd probably be a little tentative moving Nikora on this week. we could be wrong. Who knows? He might get more involved, and they might lean on him a little bit more. But I'm probably saying they don't. Hayden Oddie with the next one. Who would you trade Kohler for? It's a bit tricky to know without seeing your team, Hayden. But at the price point, if you can get up to a Marju, even if you can wait a week on Kohler and you can trade to Isaac Tungo next week or the week after, or you can go down to Jake Tungo to free up some cash, that could be a play as well. That's probably my...
So I've got Jake Tungo and Jermaine Asako. So I would rather go Jermaine Asako for 25k more than Gregory Marju. Or just go down to a Jake Tungo at 200k, free up some money, never play him ever again. Just play him this week.
Yeah, I like it. That's probably my preferred option, I think. Hodgie, hey boys, what's your opinion on trading Walker out? I'm assuming we're talking Sam Walker. I'm not 100% sure for DCE.
If it's Cody Walker?
Cody Walker for DCE for the run home post-Origin? I mean, either Walker, really. They're kind of in the same scenario, aren't they? Got Hughes and Sam Walker. Okay. Keep in mind, I'm a head-to-head player. Love your work. Thanks for the love, mate. What are your thoughts here? Head-to-head, so don't need to necessarily worry. But so round 27 doesn't matter for head-to-head. Head-to-head comps are done. Round 26 is when your head-to-head grand final will be. Hopefully, if your commissioner of your league has set it up properly. What are your thoughts?
I hate Cody Walker out. I hate Sam Walker out. And I hate them both out for Daly Cherry Evans. I just think that you can do more than Daly Cherry Evans' 60 or 70 every week. I think if they're scoring really well through this bye period, it's going to be through Hamoli. And I know a lot of his attacking stats are going to come from Daly Cherry Evans, but I'm more thinking Turbo and Hamoli and maybe just leaving either Walker because you're just as likely to score as well every single week.
Yep. Agreed. Sam Caulfield, what do we think of Burton for the run home? I like it. Yeah, I like it. I think Burton's solid. He's not really going to let you down too often. I think the Bulldogs are playing some fantastic football as well, and they've got an okay stretch of games for the run home. So, yeah, I like it, especially as a bit of a left field pod. He's got the goal kicking as well, which is a bit of a boost there in base. So, yeah, I like Burton. We've got Terry King. Hi, fellas. Love the content. Just thinking of next week trading Nicola and trading in Elliot. I was going to say Elliot Yo. That's AFL. Isaiah Yo. Have David Fafita, Max Plath, Katoa, Olakawatu, and Barnett already. Yeah, you can probably move on Nicola then if you've got numbers this week. That is a very stacked 2RF. I don't know
but
whether
just nuff him for Yo.
Yeah. I don't think you need that many guns. I don't think you need Yo, Fafita, Katoa, Olakawatu, and Barnett in 2RF. I think that's too many. I think you need four guns.
Unless you're holding, Sean Johnson and all these other blokes. Like, honestly, there's no reason you would need 6 because you're never going to play 6. That's 3 of your reserves.
Yeah, agreed. Lyle Ald, hey guys, sitting 75th, good spot. Kai Pearce Paul to Olakawatu. What are your thoughts? Have Fafita, Nicola, Katoa, and Kaloa Matangi. I love it. I love KPP to Olakawatu this week if you have the numbers. I think it's a massive upgrade. For when you're spending 100K to go from a guy that's probably worth, he's scoring your 400s at the moment in Kai Pearce Paul versus Olakawatu who can score at 800K value. That's a massive upgrade. So if you can do that this week and numbers aren't affected, then yeah, run the gauntlet with Kai Pearce Paul to Olakawatu for sure. And the last one from Hamo, would you trade Ronnie or Iro this week? I'm trading one regardless. Who's your pick here? Would you go with the tried and tested base stat beast in Iro for the rest of the season, or would you be chasing the upside like me? Because I think I'd be holding Ronnie and trading Iro.
Yeah, I'm holding Ronnie and trading Iro because when I play Iro, I know I'm going to get 55. But don't you, down the stretch, just want to chase that upside? And I don't think Iro's ever going to score you above 100. And I think Ronnie can. I think Ronnie might even this week. So...
Yeah, you're pretty high on Ronnie this week. So, yeah, definitely Iro's the trade out for me. I think Ronnie is the play on matchups when you think there's some upside there. I think Ronnie can score a double and score you 100 in a week in a nice matchup. The Sharks have a few of them for the run home as well. And Iro hasn't scored a try since round 1 or round 2 or whenever his first game on debut. He hasn't scored a try since. So, yeah. And Iro is also worth more cash at the moment, which is quite bizarre to say, but you're going to actually make more money out of trading Iro out rather than Rodney.
Yep.
So, yeah.
It's 50K.
Definitely.
Sometimes it's not what you spend, it's what you save.
I've heard that a few times before. But I just put up the wrong question on the chat screen. Thanks, guys, for watching. That'll bring us to the end. Nearly 2 hours. We nearly made it. We still haven't beaten the 2 hour mark for the AFL boys. They've got us covered in length there, but we've got them in girth, if that's a thing. But guys, that'll do us. We'll obviously be back. We'll do the Q&A for the Insight Unlimited subscribers this week as well and answer all their hard-hitting questions before round 19. Thank God, honestly, that the major buys are nearly done, because the run home's the fun part. The run home is where you can really make your team quite different and chase some real upside pods, chase some ranks.
You can chase some players that you want while ignoring the draw.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, especially for head-to-head players as well. Hopefully, if you're starting to set up, your teams are looking nearly finished now. So, plenty to play for, some cash. I'm sure everybody's in cash comps as well. So plenty going on. But, guys, we'll be back to do the Q&A, and then we'll be back on Sunday to wrap up the week. So have a good week. Plenty of green arrows. Fingers crossed. Enjoy the week. We'll catch you on Sunday. Have a good one.
Cheerio.